Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this video. In today's video, we will take a short look on how to build applications for Spring Data JPA and SQL and also NoSQL databases. Without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, let's take a look at our application here. So what we first need to do is to bring up our database here with a compose file, and this brings up three databases. We will get Elasticsearch database, we will get a MongoDB, and we will get a Postgres database. If we take a look into our Docker dashboard and take a look at these databases, we will see a difference right away. So for example, while our Postgres database in idle state takes about 30 megabytes of RAM, our MongoDB as configured as it is for now takes 60 megabytes of RAM, while Elasticsearch, and this is the lowest you can get it, is 500 megabytes at least, and this is not even for production. So for production, you usually start with 2 gigabytes of RAM. So there is already a big difference here from a memory perspective. But let's switch that away and let's start our application here. So this is our application here. We can, for example, say find by first name, and I get Homer Simpson with a first name and an address. I can say find by last name, and I get Homer and Bart Simpson because my last name is Simpson. So how is this working? So if we take a look at the service agreement, we have a person object that has addresses and also skills. Skills are currently not working at this part of the application. And we have something at the beginning. If our application bootstraps, that creates the demo data. So we get Homer, Bart, and we also get Monty Burns. So if we want to search for Monty Burns, we can say last name Burns. So this is done by a simple REST API. There is another video we can take a look at. And this REST API delegates at a logic layer, and the logic layer delegates to the Spring Data repositories. And this is the nice part here. The Spring Data repositories can work this way that you don't need to define any queries, but you can just have a method implementation. So you just say, for example, find by first name with the variable and what you want to have returned. And in the background, we can take a look here. Let's get back to our find by first name. This one. And in the background, this will create all the needed JPQL or SQL queries in the background. So just find by first name will create the queries we need. So we need to select a person, the person needs to select an address, and the address and the person also needs to select. And this is done automatically. If we just want to have the last name, we just say find by last name, and this will also work. Or if we want to have the city of the address, we can do it like this. And this is very nice because we don't need to take care of any JPQL queries or other stuff. And what's even more important, this does then not only work with SQL databases like Postgres, but the same also works with NoSQL databases as MongoDB and JPA. So from a project setup perspective, if you take a look here, we have a core module, which has a service, persistent logic, and some cross-functional stuff. And even the persistence is the same for everything. So we have the repository and we have our database provisioning, which creates the demo data. And then we have specific implementations. So for JPA, we have our JPA Maven multi-module ticked here, which at the end only consists of a Maven module that has to implement Spring Boot Starter Data JPA and our business objects. specific to Spring Boot JPA. So we have person business object, which has relations to an address and to a skill. So this one is one-to-one and this one is one-to-many. And of course, the skill has to map back many-to-one, and everything else we need to do with Spring Data JPA and everything that's working. But that's it. So with the core application at hand and our repository class here, the only diversification here is other business objects, and then it will work right away with JPA. If we now stop our application and I say, I want to have Elasticsearch instead of JPA, we have to reload our Maven projects and we need to recompile here. Then we will be here. I will then again restart my application. Well, the application class is gone. Restart the application. Get some warnings here. 100. And now find my first name. It again returns the demo data. It also has the skills now because with my NoSQL databases, this is working now. But this time, this is running against an Elasticsearch database. We see this here in the background. So we have REST client here from Elasticsearch, and this is running against an Elasticsearch implementation. Again, the diversification we have here is only that we now have Spring Boot Starter Data Elasticsearch instead of JPA, and again, other business objects. But this time, the business objects are a little bit simpler. So we have, for example, a document here for Elasticsearch. And we also have some Elasticsearch specific imports here. I don't want to get into too much details, but basically the diversification here again is only in the business objects. This is using then the same implementation we have here. It's using the repository, and under the hood we can just exchange our SQL database, and it's now running with Elasticsearch. So also our find by last name is also working. So we get Homer Simpson, we get Bart Simpson, and we can take even a look into what's running inside Elasticsearch. So this is the Elasticsearch index that's created in the background here. Very nice. I think that's for Elasticsearch. And then, of course, we have a third option, which is MongoDB, a famous NoSQL database here. Elasticsearch is not a NoSQL database by design. It's more like a search index, but they're similar. So again, we have to take here now Mongo. We have to reload. We have to rebuild our application. And if we start our application now, this should connect against the MongoDB that's running in the background. So if we reload here, it looks very similar to Elasticsearch, but trust me, this is now running against MongoDB. And what's the difference here? Very simple, very similar to the other ones. We have to have Spring Boot Starter MongoDB, of course, here. And again, we have other business objects, which look very simple. There are two options for the skills, and it's the same as for Elasticsearch. I did not point this out. If we go with this route for Elasticsearch, we have field type nested. These data will be integrated into the main object, and it's the same with MongoDB. Not this one, this one. It will also be integrated in the person object, so like a nested structure. But we can also say for MongoDB dbref, and then it will go to a different document. Okay, that's basically it. very fast, very nice. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye.